face. For this life I cannot change. In the hills, deep off in the main. Eminem, sweet like candy cane. Drop the top, pop it, let it bang. For this life I cannot change.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hogline Podcast. This is episode number 3. I'm your host, Mitchell Manis. Today I'm by myself, no guests today. Kind of a solo episode. I took a little bit of a break, but now I am back, and I am very glad to be so. And we have a ton to get into today. Let me run off today's agenda. First and foremost, we have the NBA talk. Obviously, huge news in free agency. LeBron James' decision coming down last night. And tons of more players signed and re-signed with their teams from last year. So a lot to get into there. I'm going to be giving my thoughts on James Harden winning the MVP that came down last week on the award show. And I'm going to give my thoughts on that. And then we're going to switch gears. I'm going to talk about the World Cup for a little bit. I haven't talked about that yet, and I really wanted to get into that briefly. And then to close out the show today, we are going to be doing a mock draft for fantasy football. I'm a huge fantasy football fan. I do a lot of research and mock drafts. And I wanted to do one live here on the show today and give you some of my thoughts on the players and maybe help you with your draft strategy if you need some of that, some early preparation there. But anyway, that's going to be today's show. A lot to get into. Heavy episode here today, and let's digress a little bit to the NBA talk. LeBron James is a Los Angeles Laker. That sounds weird to say out loud, I know. I know they were the favorites to land him in this whole free agency bonanza, but wow, that's weird to say out loud. And it's weird to see. I saw a couple edits of LeBron James in a Lakers uniform. I'm sure people have seen that on Instagram and Twitter and all of that, but it's just weird to see him in the purple and gold. When you think of the Lakers, you think of Kobe, you think of Shaq, you think of Elgin Baylor, you think of Jerry West, you think of Magic Johnson. You don't really think of LeBron James. I know that's kind of hard to comprehend because he hasn't played a game in the Lakers uniform yet, but I don't know. It's just weird for me to picture in my mind. It's going to be interesting to see this season, obviously. And I was a little bit shocked. Obviously, I know I gave my thoughts on it in the first episode. I said he was going to Houston. I was wrong about that, but I don't know. It doesn't really make any sense to me. The Laker roster is not strong enough. At least this season, in my opinion. I'm going to be getting into that in a little bit, but it's just not strong enough for me to see them making any noise, at least this season. I'm going to say it here. LeBron James will miss out on the NBA Finals for the first time in whatever it is, 9 seasons. He will not be playing in the NBA Finals this season. You heard it here first if you haven't heard it already, but LeBron will not be playing in the NBA Finals this season. The Lakers are not better than the Warriors, not even close. The Warriors are better by a landslide, and they're not better than Houston either. Houston lost Trevor Ariza to free agency, but I think he went to Phoenix, so good addition for Phoenix there. He's a solid role player, but they're not better than Houston. The Lakers are not there yet, and it could all change in 2019. I know there's a strong free agency class in 2019 as well, as Klay Thompson's a free agent, and obviously Kawhi Leonard is a free agent there, so whatever he might choose to sign somewhere else after he gets traded from the Spurs, which seems inevitable at this point, and the Spurs are not trading Kawhi to the Lakers. I know that seems like a popular opinion, I guess, but he's not going there by trade. He might go there by free agency in 2019. So I'm saying like things might look different in 2019 for the Lakers. Certainly, they could add another big name, and obviously if you pair another big name with LeBron James, that's final strip right there. But as of right now, in the 2018-2019 NBA season, the Lakers will not be playing in the NBA Finals. And you just look at the roster; it's just too young, and they don't have a pure super. They have some guys that could maybe develop into a superstar role, later on in their career. But as of right now, the Lakers roster is not strong enough they're not a strong enough supporting cast to help LeBron James go to the finals, especially in the West. I'm sorry. Man, that was huge news last night. I came down around 8 o'clock, maybe, I believe, and I got the alert on my phone, and Jack was outside shooting hoops. I just burst out of my seat, ran outside, and said, Jack, he signed, and wow, he was, there it was. So LeBron James, and obviously a lot of other big names. Probably one of the most shocking things was Paul George staying in Oklahoma City. I thought everyone wrote him off. That I thought he was going to be a Laker. But obviously Russell Westbrook had a strong enough pitch to make him stay. I think Paul George has unfinished business in Oklahoma City. I think that he didn't show up enough in the playoffs, and he's got something else to prove there. I know he had that strong, I think it was game 1 when they played the Jazz. I think he went off for 30-something points and had like 8 threes or something. But other than that game 1, he really kind of choked in the playoffs. I know that last game when they got eliminated by the Jazz, Russ had like a 40-point triple-double or something. And I think Paul George had like 5 points. I know him and Carmelo combined for like under 15. It was just pathetic. And if you're Paul George and you want to be considered that caliber of a superstar in the NBA or whatnot, I think he's slightly overrated. Certainly, obviously, a really good talent, but I think he's a little overrated in my opinion. But if you want to be held to that standard, you got to show up when it matters most in the playoffs. And I think he has unfinished business in OKC, and I'm kind of glad that he stayed there. I think the Thunder now can make some noise if Carmelo sets aside his ego and takes less minutes or whatever. He's a whole mess in itself, and that's a whole nother story, but I like the Thunder, and I like that Paul George stayed there, and good for Russ and good for the city of Oklahoma. And Chris Paul re-signed with the Lakers, 4 years, $160 million. That's $40 million annually. Jeez. They got 2 guys making a lot of money, but obviously worth it if you're talking about James Harden and Chris Paul. The Rockets, like I said before, they lost Trevor Ariza to free agency to the Suns, but keeping most of that team intact, and they were right there with the Warriors last year, and if a few things bounce their way, they could be back in the finals, and they've got a strong chance again next year. So hats off to them for re-signing Chris Paul. A couple other people that re-signed, obviously KD re-signed with the Warriors, 2 years, $61.5 million. No surprise there. The Warriors obviously want to keep as much of that core superstars intact that they can, and if I were KD, I wouldn't want to leave either. Obviously, why would you? 2 straight Finals MVPs and 2 championships, and great situation for him there. Love it or hate it, but yeah, he stays. Obviously, no surprise. Nikola Jokic gets a lot of money to stay in Denver. 5 years, $148 million. I'm a huge Jokic fan. If you listen to the second episode, I think he's an emerging superstar in this league, and great scoring ability, great rebounding ability. He can pretty much do it all, equivalent to a 5-tool baseball player. He can just do it all, and great for Denver to re-sign him. And I think Denver's an up-and-coming team. When I have an NBA preview show, you will see that in my predictions for next year when the time comes for that. But I think the Nuggets are certainly a playoff team this year. And if they can get anything of Michael Porter Jr. in his rookie year, I really think they can make some noise in the playoffs. One other re-signing was Aaron Gordon to the Orlando Magic. 4 years, $84 million. He's a good talent. I think he averaged 17 and 7 last season. Great rebounder and obviously a great dunker. So the Magic still got some work to do, obviously, but hey, the Eastern Conference got even weaker now with LeBron leaving, so I'm not saying the Magic are making the playoffs or anything, but the Magic are maybe trending in the right direction, and obviously keeping a player of Gordon's talent is a step in the right direction. You know, you're not going to get any worse by keeping Aaron Gordon. And $20 million still a lot, but compared to these other contracts, not the biggest here. Only other guy, that went to a different team besides LeBron out of the big names was DeAndre Jordan. He signed with the Dallas Mavericks on a 1-year deal, $24 million. Dallas, I know Mark Cuban said recently, I don't know if you heard this, but we not tanked. Had a one down year, and we're going to be back to competing next season. But I don't think the Mavericks are back to competing by any means. I know they've got Doncic. They just drafted him, and Dennis Smith Jr. had a strong rookie season. Now they just signed DeAndre Jordan, but that's not a playoff team in the West. They're not going to be back to competing, but good for Jordan for getting his money, and he's obviously a solid piece. He averaged like 15 rebounds last season. But, yeah, that's the NBA there. One final word on LeBron to the Lakers. If I had to give like an exact seeding prediction right now, I probably see them finishing like 5th in the West, honestly. And if that happens, like they play the 4 seed, then they got to play either the Rockets or the Warriors in the second round, and that's not good news. So I see the ceiling as the Lakers this season with the roster they have. They're not making the finals. I think the conference finals is probably the ceiling for them. I don't really know. And I'd expected them to be out in the first or second round. It's going to be a different LeBron-led team. He's not going to have an easy cakewalk to the finals like he's had. Not every season he's been in the East, but the majority of them. So that's the NBA talk today. I want to switch. Oh, yeah. Sorry, the MVP. I want to say a quick word on that. James Harden obviously won that. He showed up in style with his shades and his weird suit. I don't really know. That was a whole weird vibe, in my opinion. I didn't really like his speech. I know we're talking about a speech here, but compared to Russell Westbrook's and Kevin Durant's, it was so heartfelt and talking about their moms and their upbringing, and that was just more of an emotional side, and I enjoyed that. But Harden's was kind of brief, and I don't know, kind of weird speech. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's just the speech. Congratulations to him. He had a great season. He averaged 31 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds, I believe. That's for his stats. So obviously he had a great award. And I know I said LeBron should win it on that episode with Jack. And I still believe that. I still believe that LeBron should have won because he had a less talented roster. And his stats are pretty much right there with Harden's, if not better. I know he averaged like 4 less points per game than Harden did, but his stats are right there. Plays better defense, did more with less, and I know it's just a regular season award as well, but even looking at that through the regular season perspective, I think LeBron is still the MVP. With all that being said, Harden did deserve it, number 1 seed in the West and 31 points per game, and an historic season for them. You can't say he didn't deserve it. I just think LeBron James deserved it more. So hats off to Harden there. And yeah, that's the NBA talk. It may cool down for a little bit, obviously, with now that LeBron signing's out of the way and all these big names are still to go. There's still one big name out there that hasn't signed, and that's DeMarcus Cousins. And a lot of people are saying that maybe DeMarcus Cousins could go to LA, but I think I saw somewhere recently that now with this huge LeBron contract, I can't do math quickly. It's 4 years, $153 million total. I think they only have like $13 million in the cap left, and I'm not too keen on the cap, and I really don't know too much about it. But I saw somewhere that unless Cousins takes a major pay cut, which I don't think he will, I think DeMarcus Cousins is a little bit of an egotistical player, and I think he's got a big head on him. I don't think he's going to take less money, but unless he takes a significantly less contract than he was expected to, I don't think he can go to the Lakers this season. I think I read that somewhere. So don't expect him to go to the Lakers. And I don't know where he's going to end up. Maybe back in New Orleans. I think if you add him back to that playoff roster if he was not injured, I think they could have made some noise. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to go back there if you were him. But that's another big name, and obviously the whole Kawhi situation that could linger all the way throughout the regular season up until the trade deadline. I mean, the Spurs don't have to do it now; they could wait. But they're going to trade him. Like, you have to try to get something for him because you know he's not going to re-sign. So you got to go and get something for him in a trade. You don't want to wait for him to re-sign and just get nothing for it. So yeah, that's the NBA talk. I'm going to switch gears, and I'm going to talk about the World Cup for a little bit. I love the World Cup. It's just so great. I can't say enough good things about it. The fans are so passionate. If you just look out into the crowd of the games and you're watching them, these guys, this is other countries. I know America's got, baseball and basketball and football and hockey, and there's so many sports in America, but you look at these other countries, soccer is their main thing, and that's all they really got to look forward to in a sports standpoint. Like, they go all in for soccer, and these fans, they bleed their country's colors. Like, they are so in the games, and it's just so exciting to watch. And the games are so exciting as well. Like, you look at a bunch of these games. I know yesterday the two games in the knockout stage that kicked it off, they both went to penalty kicks. The Russia-Spain game went to penalty kicks, and the other one did as well. And it's just so exciting. The games are there, and there's a lot of surprises in this. I mean, obviously, first and foremost, Germany. What a pathetic performance for them. I ran a World Cup pool. Yeah, I think most of you know that, but I had them, and they didn't even make it to the knockout stage. Like, that is pathetic. Uh, if it wasn't for that late goal by that Tony Kroos guy, or I don't know how to pronounce his name, but in the 94th minute of the game, off that free kick, they wouldn't have won a game. Like, how pathetic is that? And if the defending champions can have that disappointing of a showing, and a team like Japan, which I'll talk about in a little bit, can make the knockout stage, and I don't know how far they'll advance, but just for them to make it out of the group stage, a lot of exciting headlines there. And obviously Ronaldo went nuts in a couple games, and obviously you got a bunch of big names to watch, and it's just an exciting time of year, and it's really special. And I encourage, if you're not a big soccer fan, like I'm not a big soccer fan by any means either. Like, I really only watch the World Cup, but I encourage you to watch it. Try something new. You'll be surprised of how exciting it is to watch. I know I didn't talk about this, but United States hosting it in 2026. Obviously, as an American, I'm very excited about that. And maybe I'll go to a game. That'd be awesome to go to one. I would love to, even if it's not the U.S., just to be in that atmosphere is something that you don't really get to experience, and it'd be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me. It'd be awesome. Yeah, so in a couple other games that I want to highlight, I just got done watching the Brazil-Mexico game. That was really exciting. It was close throughout, and the score was 2-0 Brazil at the end, but it was 1-0 all of the second half and scoreless in the first. But that was great. Neymar scored in the 51st minute to kick off Brazil to get them on the board, excuse me. And the Mexican goalie was awesome too. He stopped. Brazil had a strong attack in the second half, kept them on their toes. And yeah, that was an exciting game I just watched. And poor Mexico, man. They haven't made it. I think I saw they haven't made the quarterfinals since 1986. I could be wrong on that, but man, that's a long time. And they're always there too. They always make the knockout stage, but they just can't seem to get over the hump. And that just sucks for them. And I feel bad. Maybe they'll get over it in the future, but they seem like they're the Raptors of the soccer. Like they're always there, but they just can't get over that hump. Maybe the Raptors, going back to basketball, I don't want to go back in the NBA, but maybe the Raptors will finally do something now that LeBron's not in their conference. Maybe they can make a run now. But anyway, back to the World Cup. A couple other games that are still to play. By the time this episode is up, this game will probably be over, but it's going to go down in about an hour. It's Belgium versus Japan. Obviously, I talked about Japan a little bit there, but Japan is one of the most surprising teams. No one really had them getting past the group stage, and they've scrapped. I think they've had 4 points so far. They've got a loss and a draw and a win. But hats off to them. They're having a great run here. But they run into Belgium. Don't think they're going to win this game. Belgium's a very strong team. They have won at least their past 5 games. They haven't lost in the World Cup yet. And just they're loaded with talent. And I'm going to catch a little bit of this game after I'm done uploading this episode. But, man, if Japan somehow pulls this off, that would make the World Cup even more exciting than it already is. And can't wait to watch that one. A quarterfinal matchup, that's already in place is Uruguay versus France. This is probably going to be a very close game. France. I think they went into the World Cup with maybe the fourth or fifth best odds to win it all. I don't really know, but strong team there. And Uruguay obviously is having they're on the hot streak. They haven't lost in the World Cup either. 9 points in the group stage, and I think that game's on Friday, and I can't wait to watch that one as well. So yeah, that's the World Cup talk. My lasting message here is if you're not a soccer fan, please watch it. I think that you would enjoy it. It's a very exciting, sporting event. I really don't know how to describe it. It's the passion of the fans really gets me. I just love as a sports fan. It's just something great to watch. Yeah. So anyway, I know that was pretty brief, and I'll probably get into more World Cup as the games progress and the semifinals and the finals. I'll get into more of that later on. But now, to close off the show, I know it's a little bit of a shorter episode, I'm going to do a mock draft for fantasy football. I said in the beginning I love fantasy football, and I'm in 3 leagues. I said that in an earlier episode. And I do mock drafts almost every day, and I do a lot of research, and it's pretty much my life, honestly, fantasy football. So I want to do a mock draft here live on the show to really know how this is going to go. But I'm going to do the mock draft on Fantasy Pros. I do a lot of mock drafts on Fantasy Football Calculator. That's another good website if you're looking to do mock drafts. They got them year-round. But Fantasy Pros, I'm going to do that because I'm going against all computers here, and there's no time limit for me to make my pick. I know it's going to be different in a real draft, but just for the logistics of this episode, I wanted to have that where I had time to explain what I was going to do. So I have the settings here. Standard. I don't do any PPR leagues. I'm not really a fan of it, but maybe I'll do one down the road eventually just to try something new. But for now, we're going to do standard mock draft. Obviously a snake. And we're going to do 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex, and a kicker and a defense. I'm going to do a 12-team mock draft, and I'm going to randomize the position. Here we go. I'm going to click the random button here. I got the 11th pick. Not really my favorite position, but we're just going to roll with it. So I think I can draft a good team from any position, quite frankly. So we are 12 teams, standard snake draft, and we're in the 11th position, and we're going to start our draft here. Like I said, I love Fantasy Pros because it's just so quick, and if you need do something real quick, then here you are. So the first 10 picks have gone through here. The first pick started off with Le'Veon Bell at 1-1. 1-2 was Todd Gurley of the Los Angeles Rams. Ezekiel Elliott went 3, David Johnson, Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham Jr., Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Hopkins, Saquon Barkley, and Julio Jones. So, what are we looking at here? I am a big fan of going running back in the first rounds. I think running back security and depth on your team is one of the most important things in fantasy football. I think we can all agree on that. A lot of injuries happen across all positions, honestly, in football, but really running backs. And once you get past the 4th or 5th round for running backs, you're pretty much throwing darts. So you really need to secure your running back position in the early rounds. I think a good rule of thumb is to get within your first 3 picks, probably get 2 running backs. You can get a wide receiver in one of them, but you really want to go running backs. So I'm just going to take a look at the wide receivers real quick just to make sure we're not missing anyone. I know Julio, Hopkins, OBJ, and Antonio Brown went already, so we're probably not, we got Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen, AJ Green. Probably don't want to go with any of them in the first round, so I'm going to go back to running backs here. We got a choice between, I think there's 4 guys mainly here. We got Kareem Hunt of the Kansas City Chiefs, Leonard Fournette, Melvin Gordon, and maybe Dalvin Cook we'll consider. I think it's pretty much, for me personally, between Leonard Fournette and Melvin Gordon. There's little concerns about Fournette's injuries. I think the Jacksonville doctors and doctors across the league are a little concerned of the spots of where his injuries are. I know he's had foot problems and ankle problems at LSU. And so I'm gonna go with Melvin Gordon here. I think Melvin Gordon's gonna have a strong year. From the first episode I said the Los Angeles Chargers are gonna have a strong year, and that'll be led by Melvin Gordon. So we're gonna go ahead and draft Melvin Gordon here. The next two picks were Kareem Hunt and Leonard Fournette. So now we have a choice between, in my opinion, we got to go either Dalvin Cook, or we can look at the wide receivers that I mentioned before in Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen, AJ Green, and Devontae Adams. Again, none of those names really excite me with the early second round pick. I think I would maybe wait until the mid to late second round to grab one of those guys. And again, I'm really high on running back security. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Dalvin Cook. He's coming off of the ACL injury, but that was early on in the year, and he's had enough time to recover. There's a big difference between tearing your ACL in December or January or in August and September. That extra 4 months is really beneficial and crucial to your recovery time for the next season. Like Carson Wentz, sorry Eagles fans, but there's a chance he could miss the first couple games, and obviously that wouldn't kill the Eagles season because they've got a great backup, as you all know. But there's a difference between Dalvin Cook tore it in September, October, and guys like Allen Robinson. They have enough time, more time, to recover from their ACL. But anyway, I'm going to go Dalvin Cook here. I like that running back duo of Melvin Gordon and Dalvin Cook. That makes me feel good inside. It makes me sleep at night. If I don't have good running back depth, I lose sleep at night, quite frankly. Oh boy, a lot of picks went here. Obviously, we've got a huge waiting time. So after I selected Dalvin Cook, went LaShawn McCoy, Michael Thomas, Christian McCaffrey, Devontae Adams, AJ Green, Keenan Allen, Devontae Freeman, Jordan Howard, Gronk, Mike Evans. Mike Evans, I think, is going way too late in drafts. I think maybe people are scared of him because Jameis Winston's suspension, which, by the way, Jameis Winston's so stupid. He's a dumb person. I don't even want to talk about it. It's going to make me too mad. But then we see a lot of wide receivers go. Amari Cooper, Thielen, Tyreek Hill, Doug Baldwin. First quarterback went off the board, Aaron Rodgers. So anyway, I'm going to look at wide receivers because we already have two running backs. And oof, man, none of these guys really excite me here. We got Stephon Diggs, which I'm not really a big fan of, considering we have Dalvin Cook and we really don't want to have too many of our cards in the Vikings offense. I know that's a good offense to bet on to do well, but you don't really want to have too much investment in one offense in any team, just in case an injury derails the team or just they don't really perform like they're supposed to. So more names we're looking at here. Larry Fitzgerald, great pick. I know he's getting up there in age, but every season we say that, and he just continues to produce 90-plus reception, 1,000-yard seasons. So that'd be a good pick there. We have our pick of any quarterback besides Aaron Rodgers, but again, way too early to get a quarterback here. You want to wait on quarterbacks, quite frankly. It's so deep. I'm going to wait as late as I possibly can to get one. But again, I like Larry Fitzgerald here. I know that may be a little early third round, but I'm going to go for it. I like Fitzgerald. I think if we have a solid bench here behind him, I think he could lead our team here. So then after Fitzgerald went Demaryius Thomas and Alex Collins. Alex Collins, the Ravens running back. Not really too big of a fan on getting him. I haven't really gotten him in a lot of my mock drafts, but yeah. So again, we pretty much have the guys we were talking about before, wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, Alshon Jeffrey is another name that pops out here. Allen Robinson, I'm a big fan of Allen Robinson this season. Like I said, the ACL, doesn't really concern me that much. So we might take a stab at him here. The running backs don't really jump. Maybe Geis. I like Darius Geis a lot. That rookie running back out of LSU by the Washington Redskins. He was drafted in the second round. Slid a little bit. I think he was like the 7th or 8th running back off the board, which is a little ridiculous in my opinion. But he's there. He's an intriguing option. I'm really between Allen Robinson and Darius Geis here. You know what? I'm going to go Geis. I'm just going to pound my message in with running back depth. So, you know what? We're going to have depth here. So far, our team, to recap, we're 4 rounds in. This is a 15-round mock draft. Melvin Gordon, we drafted first. Dalvin Cook second. Larry Fitzgerald third. And we got Darius Geis in our flex position. We got him in the 4th round. What do we got here? A lot of names went off the board. Watson went off the board. 3 quarterbacks went off the board. Brady, Wilson, and Watson all gone here. Again, way too early for a quarterback. I'm not even worried or concerned about that. Ertz went at the mid of the 4th round. Josh Gordon, Juju Smith-Schuster, Jarvis Landry, Ronald Jones, Royce Freeman, Sony Michel. A lot of rookie running backs. Maybe I started that rookie running back trend there. But we need a wide receiver. We only have Larry Fitzgerald, and we need to secure some depth. One name, there's a couple names here. We got Marvin Jones, Michael Crabtree, Devin Funchess, Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins is garbage. I'm not going to get him. Not even close. I'm going to cross his name off the draft board right here. But anyway, the name that intrigues me the most is Marvin Jones. He had a great year last year. I don't remember his exact stats, but man, he's a great talent, and I believe in the Lions offense this year. I think Stafford likes to spread the ball around, and I'm a huge Marvin Jones fan, so that's the name that really caught my eye, so I'm going to go with Marvin Jones. Next went Michael Crabtree to cap off the 5th round, and then Cam Newton was 6-1. So I like Cam Newton. I think if he falls to the 7th or 8th round, I think I'd take a stab on Cam, especially 8th round. That's ridiculous. I like him. You know, he always has a rushing ability, then that's huge in fantasy football from a quarterback perspective. So I like Cam, but I wasn't willing to take him at the end of the 5th round. Carson Wentz, little intriguing in the 6th round here, but I'm going to pass. Again, there's so many big names, so many guys that could easily finish at QB1 that you can get in the 10th, 11th, 12th, and beyond. So I'm going to wait on a quarterback, obviously, continue to wait. I'm not really a fan of these middle round wide receivers. Devin Funchess, I already talked about Sammy Watkins. Pierre Garçon, but not this early in my opinion. So again, I'm not really a fan. I'm just going to take maybe flyers on these late round wide receivers that I think have more upside. I think securing that running back position is just more important. It really is. And if you look at the names here, we got Lamar Miller, Deion Lewis, Marshawn Lynch, Tevin Coleman, Isaiah Correll. I'm probably going to go Lamar Miller. And he's not really a sexy option. He scores like 8 points a game, but he's relatively consistent. He gets a lot of carries. I know some people are worried about Donta Foreman stealing some carries, but he tore his Achilles midway through last season, and who knows about his health, but I'd bet on Miller retaining the starting job throughout the year, and I think the carries will be there. So I'm going to continue to build on running back depth, and I went with Lamar Miller there. Man, a little bit of a run on quarterbacks. Stafford went. I'm going out of order, excuse me. Carson Wentz, Drew Brees, Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Ben Roethlisberger, and Stafford all gone. A little bit of our options are depleted there at quarterback, but not too worried at this point yet. Still a lot of good names on the board like Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, Andrew Luck, Jared Goff, Marcus Mariota. A lot of good names still. So I'm not too worried. I'm still going to wait. I'm going to go back to wide receiver. We only have Jones and Fitzgerald, so we need to build a little bit more depth there. Where are the wide receivers? I'm missing them. I'll just look at this one. Hold on. We got Emmanuel Sanders. What round is this? The end of the 7th. He may be an intriguing option with Case Keenum. New face there. Ooh, I'm a huge Marquise Goodwin fan. I think he's a huge sleeper. I think if you can get him in the mid to late rounds, I think that's going to be great. I think when Jimmy Garoppolo there, he just took off. He's a PPR monster. I know this isn't a PPR draft, but Marquise Goodwin, good option. I'm gonna go with Sanders and hope Goodwin is still there. I know it's only 2 picks, so he better be there. but I'm going to go ahead and draft Emmanuel Sanders. And, all right, good. Goodwin is still there, I believe. I think we can pick him. Awesome, he's still there. All right, I'm going to go with Marquise Goodwin. I think he's a great sleeper. I think he shouldn't be a sleeper. I think he should be ranked up higher in a lot of consensus experts' rankings. But I love this pick here. I think Goodwin can do well for us if this was a real team. Who else went here? We got this big, large 22 picks in a row without us picking. Carlos Hyde went, Devontae Parker, Tariq Cohen. Oh, Tariq Cohen's a good pick. I would not be opposed to picking him in the 8th round. I think he is going to have a special role in the Bears offense. What round is this? This is the 9th round. 9th round. I think I'm going to go quarterback in the 10th. So I'm going to wait one more pick, and then I'm going to try to snag Phillip Rivers. I love Phillip Rivers. I think, like I said, I've sung the praises of the Chargers in the first couple episodes here, and I think the Chargers are in for a good year. And I think if you can get Phillip Rivers in a double-digit round in a fantasy football mock draft, especially 12 teams, I think you can't beat that value, in my opinion. I think he can put up similar numbers to the guys going 3-4 rounds ahead of him. I think he can exceed Kirk Cousins, Stafford, and Breeze, and maybe Wentz if he misses the first couple of games. I think he can match or maybe even exceed their numbers from a fantasy perspective, and you're getting him 4 or 5 rounds later. But anyway, let me look at wide receivers again, because I'm still not... I'm happy with the guys we've selected, but I'd feel more comfortable if I got one more guy that I liked here. Sterling Shepard, Calvin Benjamin. Calvin Benjamin's not going to do anything this season, in my opinion. I don't trust anyone getting the ball. I don't even believe in his talent, to be quite honest. You know what? It might be a little early, but I'm going to go Sterling Shepard. Don't really love this pick, but out of the names there, he was the one that really I felt most comfortable getting. So again, obviously, we're 9 rounds in. I haven't gotten any other position besides a running back and a wide receiver. Don't be an idiot. Don't reach for a quarterback. You don't need one this early. Unless someone like Rodgers falls way beyond his average draft position, you don't need to go ahead and reach for one like that. Wait on a guy super deep. Same with tight ends. But if you don't get a Gronk or a Kelsey or an Ertz, forget about it. Honestly, just forget about it. Don't get one till the 11th or 12th round. Honestly, you don't. It's so random. These guys pop out of nowhere, and they all finish around the same. You don't need to reach for a tight end. Focus on getting your running back and wide receiver depth. So anyway, Phillip Rivers, is he still here? I hope so. Where's my guy Phillip? Yes, he's still there. All right. I'm going to go ahead and make our selection. We're drafting Captain Phillip Rivers here. Oh, I just noticed we got Melvin Gordon and Phillip Rivers, both on the Chargers. I made a point of not having too much investment in one offense, but that's all right. Not the end of the world. If you do that during your draft, don't freak out. You don't want to draft like 4 or 5 guys, but if you get 2 guys from the same offense, especially if it's a good one like I'm expecting Los Angeles to be, it's all right. Don't worry about it. What else? What have we got here? A lot of names went off the board since we got Phillip Rivers. We got a couple defenses. Again, if you're getting a defense in the 11th or 10th round, you're a bit of a noob in fantasy football. You don't need a defensive kicker that early at all. They have to be your last pick, or don't even get one at all. Allen Hurns went. D.D. Westbrook went. Trey Burton, I like that pick in the 11th round. I think he's going to be a real sleeper. I selected Zach Ertz in the 10th round of my league last year, and that was a very solid pick. I think he may have gotten hurt for a couple of games, so that got rid of some of his stats. But from a per-game basis, he was putting up 9-10 points every week on a standard league, and you can't beat that in the 10th round from a fantasy perspective. And that was a great pick. And I hope to find another late round gem at tight end this year. I'm gonna start looking at tight ends in a round or so here. But let me look at running backs. Wow, Bilal Powell, Theo Riddick, Chris Carson, Peyton Barber, Matt Breida. Don't really love those names. I'll probably get one more running back, but I'm not really too keen on those guys. Again, we're really looking at not the best talent here. That's why it's so important to to build that depth from your running back and wide receiver perspective. Because when you get down to later rounds, you're not really looking at much talent. I'll look at tight end. Why not? Just to see the names that are there, if I can find it. We got Jordan Reed, Jack Doyle, George Kittle, Tyler Eifert, and David Njoku. Jordan Reed, I like a lot, and I think he could have a good role in that with Alex Smith as his quarterback, but obviously the main concern of Jordan Reed is his health. But I'm willing to gamble. Why not? It's only a mock draft. I'm going to go Jordan Reed, banking on him being healthy, and if he's healthy, that's a great pick because he's a great talent. Okay, so we are in the 12th rounds. We got 2 bench slots and our kicker and defense. I'm gonna get a kicker and defense. Sometimes I don't do it, but I'm gonna get one this draft. But I'm gonna wait till the 14th and 15th rounds. Obviously, that's what everyone should do. I'm going to get Andrew Luck. I know some people are opposed to getting backup quarterbacks, but I think if you get 2 late ones, you're bound to hit on one of them. And I just think, obviously, Andrew Luck is huge upside, but also a lot of risk because you don't know about his shoulder or whatever here. Yeah, his shoulder. Health is a big concern with him, but I'm going to go ahead and get Andrew Luck as a backup quarterback. It's hard to trade quarterbacks in fantasy football, so if you're banking on trading one of these guys, not really the best strategy to go with. But, yeah. We got one more bench slot. I'm going to look at a wide receiver. Oh, wait a minute. I only have 4 running backs. I might as well go with another running back. What are these names we got here? Frank Gore. Man continues to put up not 1,000 yards, but very, very solid seasons despite his age. Don't trust him in the Miami offense, though, so I'm going to pass. I'm going to take a shot at a rookie. Not really a well-known guy, but Jordan Wilkins, don't know what college he went to, but he's on the Indianapolis Colts now. Bit of a crowded backfield with a bunch of young guys, Marlon Mack, Naheem Hines, and then you got Jordan Wilkins, but one of them's got to emerge as a guy who gets more touches. So, again, we're taking flyers here, but I'm going with Jordan Wilkins. I think there's some upside there, and I like that one. So we got into the 14th and 15th rounds. Like I said, sometimes I don't really get a kicker in a defense, but I'm going to just go ahead and get one anyway for this one. All the kickers are still on the board. I'm just going to go ahead and secure Justin Tucker. Can't go wrong with him, you know. He puts up consistent double-digit weeks. So we got Justin Tucker as our kicker. And here we go. To round it out, we got to select a defense here. I'm going to go with the, what our names are still on the board here. We got the Panthers, Steelers, Bears, Falcons. I'm going to go with the Panthers. They always seem like a solid fantasy defense. And that'll be the mock draft. All right. Let's look at the team here. I'm going to run down the team. Our starters are quarterback Phillip Rivers, Melvin Gordon, Dalvin Cook, Larry Fitzgerald, Marvin Jones, Jordan Reed, Darius Geis in the flex, and the Panthers defense is Justin Tucker. And our bench is Andrew Luck, Lamar Miller, Jordan Wilkins, Emmanuel Sanders, Marquise Goodwin, and Sterling Shepard. Overall, not a bad team. Like I said, I'm really happy I secured running back depth. And I've got a lot of guys upside as well. I think Jordan Wilkins, I know he's a late round flyer, not really too dependent on him, but I think Marquise Goodwin, I think he's going to have a big role in the 49ers offense. And maybe he can emerge as our wide receiver one and maybe even our best wide receiver on the team. Yeah, so that was fun to do. I always enjoy mock drafts, and I hope that if anyone has any questions with fantasy football, I'm always here to listen and answer the questions to the best of my ability. Obviously, I put a lot of thought into it, so if anyone has any questions or looking for any sleepers or draft strategies, please hit me up. You can text me or find me on Instagram or any of that stuff. So, yeah, I'm glad to help. That's today's episode. Thank you very much for listening. This is the third episode of the Hogline Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at the Hogline Podcast, and you can follow me personally at Mitchell Manis. I submitted this podcast to iTunes, and they're a bit delayed. I haven't got an email or word back yet, but keep your fingers crossed, and I will keep following up on that. So hopefully this podcast, excuse me, will be on iTunes shortly. And I'm also working on getting a YouTube channel if you want to check that out. I recorded an episode with Jack and Home Court Sports Podcast, hosted by Sean Gaida and Tyler Mulroy. We talked about the NFL season, and that is on their channel. So check that out. That'll be on our YouTube channel once that gets going. That episode should be up on YouTube probably by tonight or tomorrow, so be sure to check that out. And I'll also upload the ones that I've uploaded on SoundCloud on there as well. So that's all. Thank you for listening, like I said, and I'll see you next time. Peace.